Alright, the items video is on its way to you. It's time to review the god changes, which will probably be the final one in my news videos for the mid-season patch, because there's so much to cover. I've split it into multiple videos. The jungle changes one is already out, the item changes is on its way, and then this is the god changes, of course. So let's start it off with the Ratatoskr passive rework, which is long awaited, to be honest, especially for me, because I loved Rat's old icon so much. Does it live up to the hype? Well, kinda. I like it. It's definitely an improvement over his current boring icon, but I don't know, there's still something to be desired with this. I feel like they're not all that interesting. One of them is basically his old icon, the other is basically his old icon, but with a slight change to it. But yeah, I'll go over all these and explain what I think about them. So Lively Icon, which is one of the tier 2s, it now branches into 2 tier 2s and then 4 tier 3s like it did before. So the first of the tier 2s is just a toned down version of the passive where it heals him for a percentage of his max health on ability hits, which is kind of what it does now. So from that tier 2 we get 1, which is just a big beefy version of that passive. So it's basically the replacement of what his current icon does. Heals for 7% max health and mana, which I think is a lot more than his current icon. And the thing that makes this really interesting, actually, and not like incredibly boring because it normally would be, is that he gets plus 15% max health, which is really interesting. This is definitely like a tank icon. Like if you want to build solo lane Rat, maybe support Rat, though probably not. I don't think that would really work. It could. He has like a knock up and a stun, but yeah, this is tank Rat icon basically, because 15% more max health and 7%, like, you can realistically reach like 3.5k health with this. And what's 7% of 3.5k? That's like 230-ish healing, 250 maybe if you're looking at the top end, which is very good, honestly. 250 health per ability heal is going to keep you alive for a long time in fights. I mean, once you burn your cooldowns, it's not going to be too great, but that's quite a lot of healing and pretty much infinite mana, let's be honest. Once you buy this, it's basically infinite mana. The second one that builds from that same one is, it still has the passive from the tier 2 where it's like a toned down version, which is 3% max health, which is still very good. This one gives you a double cast of Flurry, so it's essentially like Pele's one, where you have like 2 casts stored of it, you can cast it once, you can cast it again, and also the protections that you shred with it, you also gain. And this one also gives 15% increased protections, so this one's a bit weird, I don't know. This is one of the ones I don't really like too much. It feels like it doesn't really have an identity. Like, having a double cast of Flurry feels like something that you would go more damage oriented, and gaining protections is better if you have less of them overall. So it feels like this is aimed at more of like a damage Rat build, but then it has protections on it, which is kind of strange. I don't know, this one's weird and probably not that good. This one's really good, but yeah, this one's kind of weird. Then we have the other tier 2 icon, which has no actual passive, it just has 15 power and 10% speed, so a little bit better stats, but it doesn't have this 3% max health heal, which is kind of a big deal. Which then builds into the Bristlebrush icon, which has a passive of Dart, now deals 40% increased damage, which is pretty significant, and can also crit. So this is like reminiscing back to the days of Opal icon, where you could crit with Rat Dash. When Dart damages an enemy, Ratatoskr also gains 10% lifesteal and 10% basic attack damage, so I guess this is for like auto-attack crit Rat. I don't really see this working. If this icon is actually built, it'll just be as like a supplement to a normal ability-based damage Rat build, I feel like, or maybe a hybrid build, where you build a little bit into attack speed, but mostly ability power, because attack speed Rat's not going to work, realistically. He doesn't have the kit for it, even with this. Yeah, it's probably going to see you playing like a hybrid build with maybe a little bit of crit, and then maybe a Hydras, something like that. I don't see like a full-on attack speed Rat build working, but this one's pretty cool. I kind of like this one. And then the final one, less text on this one. Acorn Blast now shoots 5 Acorns. Enemies hit by the Acorn Blast are marked to take 5% increased damage from all Rat's abilities, stacking up to 3 times for 5 seconds. So enemies hit by this are taking 15% increased damage is basically what this says, because you're always going to hit 3 Acorns, especially when you have it shooting 5. Also, Acorn Blast deals reduced damage per Acorn now, so you can't just do like an insane amount of damage with hitting all 5 Acorns. But yeah, you're realistically going to always get that 15%, so you want to be engaging with this. Like, if you go into Acorn, you want to be like blink 3ing people and then going for the rest of your kit. But this one's, it's not boring, but it's not amazing. This is the Evergreen Acorn. This is the one I want to try. Solo or support Rat with this, with like a ton of max health healing for like 250 per ability use. Infinite mana. This one is really awesome. And this one is weird. This one's cool. This one's boring. So we have awesome, weird, cool, boring. So a mixed bag. That's why I was saying I wasn't incredibly crazy about these changes, because all of Rat's old icons were incredibly cool, not just like 2 of them. But yeah, it's certainly an improvement over his boring old Acorn though, so I'll take it. Okay, that was a big discussion point because it's a complete rework to his passive, but let's move on to the more standard balance changes. So Alquan gets an increased slow on the ranged attack. Not too relevant, usually you don't use it too much for the slow, but to be fair, you can. You can like 2 them and then keep sticking to them with auto attacks. This is the bigger change though. Decreasing the cooldown by 2 seconds to 7 is like super good for his early game camp clear. Especially because if you've watched my jungle camps video, they're changing how jungle camps are, so it takes longer to clear them. And realistically, I think you might get 2 casts of this off on one camp if they're going to take longer to clear. If they take longer than 7 seconds, which I think they definitely will, having this up twice is going to be really good. Alquang definitely needed buffs. He was kind of in a really bad spot in my opinion, so I won't complain. Apollo buffs also make sense. He wasn't in a great spot, so they've increased the mez duration a lot early game. That's actually significant. Increasing the prots is like, yeah, pretty decent, but a 0.4 second increase on the mez duration early is pretty good, honestly. And then the increased scaling on the ult, that's okay, I guess. Apollo ult never really hits for the full duration unless like you land a CC before the Apollo lands in, but I'm not going to complain about Apollo buffs. He's fairly fun, other than like the split push shenanigans, but yeah, I won't complain. RTO buffs are a bit weird though. I feel like RTO is already decent. Increasing the slow to 20% on bear charge at rank 1 is huge. Because you start the 3 in lane as RTO, so if in dual lane or something, you can bear charge both of them and get them slowed. That could be some really good early kill potential from like RTO and dual lane. Or maybe even in solo as well. Okay, they didn't buff like both the 3s, they buffed one of the 1s and one of the 3s. That's good good game design there. If they increase like the 3 in Druid form and the 3 in bear form, that would have been too oppressive at level 1. But yeah, level 1 or level 2, I guess, when you get the stability, that's going to be a little bit stronger as well. We're still buffing Baba, I guess. This is huge. 20 bonus damage at rank 1. I mean, it's kind of just bringing it into line with where it should be, because it did so little damage on launch. But 85, if you get a couple of the orange ingredients, that's maybe hitting for 100. Kind of good, I guess. And it also has scaling as well. I don't think... I mean, maybe you start the potion on Baba now. I'm not entirely sure if people start the potion already, because I don't really play her too much. But yeah, this is pretty big. This should make her early game a lot better. And then this is pretty good, I guess. I mean, 60 extra health isn't going to change too much. But yes, Baba buffs. I don't think they were really needed. I think she's in a good spot. But I guess Harrows want to buff her to being a little bit overpowered so that people actually try her out, because she probably has very low play rate based on her release. This is dumb. Why are we buffing Baka? 1, he's not very fun when he's really good, and 2, they just buffed Golden Blade when he was already, in my opinion, a pretty balanced character. The Golden Blade buffs will bring him up to being strong, and now they're buffing him again. I think he's going to be not a top jungler, like top, but maybe just under top 5 or something, but in ranked, he's so oppressive. So the increased protection's a little bit more of like a late game thing, and increased physical power scaling on the heal. So honestly, they're not too bad. Like the Golden Blade changes are way more impactful for Baka than these are. These are just a nice little small buff, so it's not doomsday, but I don't really think he needed it, to be honest. Baron buffs are nice to see. Believe it or not, I actually kind of enjoy Baron being decent. After all this time, he spent a lot of time like really out of the meta, and I want to see him plus some play again. So Tremors deals initial damage. That's good, actually, because the thing is with Tremors, it takes a while to actually do that initial hit, and that's when the Tremble starts. So immediately applying the Tremble makes it much harder to get out of. This is going to be a lot better for like locking people down in team fights and things. It doesn't affect his lane clear and boxing and stuff in lane, but in team fights, this is going to be a lot. It's going to feel a lot better for like locking people down. Cerberus didn't need buffs, but I guess 16 seconds is quite long for 2 of his abilities, so shouldn't be too bad. I think Cerberus is decent in this meta though, just like pretty balanced. But the changes are so minor here that it probably won't affect him too much. Chiron buffs, 20 increased base damage is pretty big at level 1. Increased scaling on that's pretty irrelevant. A little bit more damage late game, but this is pretty big. It buffs his clear, which is where Chiron struggles a lot. His level 1 clear is really bad. His level 2's not that bad because you can 1-2 the wave. And then his clear starts being really good as you rank things up, but his level 1 clear is super bad. Both on purple buff and in lane, so this is good to see. Cthulhu can no longer use relics. He could use relics? So he could like Aegis and Beads in his ultimate? That makes no sense. Although I guess Cthulhu with Thorns. That is a problem. I just realised that. Like, if Cthulhu's just running around in your backline popping Thorns, I'm glad he can't do that anymore. I'm happy about this change. Minions take additional damage on the explosion and from the initial... Oh, so it buffs Cupid's lane clear. I'm okay with this. It was always one of his weaker aspects. He has a really good 1v1 and like a pretty decent team fight as well, but his lane clear kind of sucked. Especially if they can eat the heart bomb. Viper Shot now has 4 charges at all ranks, increased scaling, increased range, increased... This isn't what Medusa needs. Like, I'm happy to see Medusa bust because she sucks. They need to change the 3 though. Like, the 3 is what's holding her back. A jungler just ganks, blocks the 3, and then she does nothing. They need to make it so either the 3 goes through gods, or maybe the 3 has like a knockback on gods instead of a root, or the 3 is like faster, so you can dodge, like you can strafe to the side and 3, because the 3 just sucks right now and it's way too easy to block. Maybe reduce the hitbox on it or something, I don't know, but the 3 needs changes. The Acid Spray and Viper Shot aren't really the problem, it's the 3. Buffing Mulan? Okay. Increased training speed. This is dumb. This isn't what Mulan needs. She doesn't need more early game, like getting her tier 3 abilities online faster. That's not what she needs at all. She needs she needs the ult fixing, so she's not bloody rooted when she uses it and she just dies. Like, she needs a little bit improved late game, I think, and like some more feels good improvements for team fights. Her lane is already incredibly strong. Making it stronger isn't really going to fix anything. It's just going to make her more annoying to fight in lane and still not very good in team fights. The arrow scaling's okay, I guess. I don't dislike that change, but doesn't really do anything. It just makes her even more of a lane bully while still being kind of trash in team fights. Oh, wait. I take that back. This is only increased training speed on grapple. That's fine. I take back everything I just said. I thought that was increased training speed on all her abilities. So her 1 and 2 would get it faster. This is fine. Honestly, it is quite slow to train grapple, and having that wall grapple earlier on is nice. Yeah, I actually like all these changes. Completely take back what I just said. I read that wrong. Neith, animation and travel time has been good. Backflip was sort of like a relic of like 2013 Smite, where having a slow dash like that would actually be viable. It's not been viable for a long time, so I'm glad to see they're increasing the speed. All enemies now see Neith space. That's fine. That's like what they did with Artemis traps. That's good. Decreased attack speed debuff. Disability now. Oh, it steals attack speed. So she's a lot better at boxing now. And then they normalized the debuff duration to 4 seconds at all ranks, so weaker late game, but it was never really that relevant late game, so buffing it in the early game, like in these first few ranks, because you rank Spirit Arrow first, this is what you rank second, so from levels like 1 to 12 or so, this is going to be a longer duration than normal, and also it's going to steal attack speed, which is really big for boxing. Yeah, this is pretty huge, actually. Neith can now like also do like a ton of damage with abilities. She's much safer and she can box a lot better. This is gonna make Neith really good, I think. She's already like not too bad. She's like a little bit weak, I think, but there's some massive buffs here, honestly. Expect to see a lot of Neith. Increased damage on Slice and Dice, so that's 100 at rank 1 instead of 80. Should help her jungle clear. This is probably mostly focused on the jungle changes that happened, where they're making camps tankier and harder to clear. Doing 80 base damage at level 1's not really going to do too much. So yeah, good change. This is the attack speed buff, right? Increased damage. That must be damage per hit of the suns, right? Increase the damage decrease per shot. So yeah, it's basically just better if you hit like 1 or 2 shots, but worse or just the same if you hit like a lot of shots. I guess this is okay. I don't really have a problem with this change. Set buffs. Set buffs are interesting for me because Set is a god that sees some really successful play, and I think he's really powerful, but mostly in like top level play. Like noobs don't use Set very well, and he often has really bad win rate for people that don't know how to play him. And he more just like sort of does really well as you get higher up in the ranks, so it's kind of difficult to balance him. What have they done? Increased duration on the ult. That is the ult, right? I'm pretty sure. Wait, no, that's the passive, right? Yeah, increase the duration on the passive, that's fine, I guess. No real problem with that. Increase skewer damage by quite a bit. What is that? 15, then 20, then 25, yeah, all the way up to 35 at the end. And increase scaling. Gives him better lane clear early on before he gets the spawns, but once he gets the spawns, his wave clear is actually pretty good. So this is mostly like a level 1 change. and like a little bit more damage late game. Actually, no, I take that back. It's not a little bit more damage late game, it's a lot more damage late game, because 35 plus 10%, assuming he has 250 power, that's an extra 60 damage per clone, or like per hit of it. And if you hit someone with like 3 or 4 clones, which is actually reasonable with set, that's a ton more damage. So yeah, that should actually be pretty big. And spawns now deal... Oh, were they dealing 100% of skewers damage before? And now they're doing 62... Right, that makes a bit more sense. So it's not a strict buff, it's like a shifting. Where like... Yeah, this makes sense, because new players don't set up the spawns correctly and don't get the big bursts. But experienced players burst you down super fast with like a million spawns when they know how to play them. This is a change in specifically to help new players, because they'll hit you with like skewer and maybe 1 spawn. They won't hit you with a million spawns, so for them it's better, but for the players that hit you with a million spawns, it's worse. So yeah. Really good targeted change, actually. This is a really smart change. This is just like whatever. These two are really smart changes. Props to whoever made these changes to set. That's actually a really good way of balancing him. Wukong buffs? Wukong's boring, I don't want to buff him. Nah, I kid about that. I just don't like fighting Wukong. Increased Tiger Stun to 1.4 at all ranks. Pretty good for his like boxing in lane. You probably want to Tiger people a bit more now, where you were mostly Oxing people before. Like you would Ox them and their wave. Maybe you want to Tiger a bit more now. Increase percent HP, where his passive triggers from 40 to 50. Increase the duration from 10 to... Oh, that's a pretty decent buff, actually. Yeah, overall, should pull him up a little bit. I think with the removal of Gladiator Shield, he probably falls a little bit, which is maybe why they've made these changes. Because Wukong did rely on Glad Shield a lot, but Soul Eater gets buffed, so maybe you go Soul Eater on him now. Who knows? There's so much changing with Solo Lane that it's hard to see the exact impact of these changes, because so much is changing all at once. Sylvanas damage increases. Mostly late game damage increases. A little bit early game on the Wisps. That's okay. Sylvanas doesn't really see too much play. He's kind of easy to pick off, so this is okay. Thoth, this damage increase will affect all enemies, not just gods. Does this apply on your one, so you'll get the increased damage on minions? If that's how that works, he's going to have super good clear now, right? Like, you 3-1 the wave. Like, he already has decent clear. Well, not early game, but, like, mid-game his clear is very good. Added fall-off damage past 55 range. Oh, so if you're setting up the 3 from miles away and trying to poke people, if you hit them right at the end, it's going to do less. But if you hit them a little bit closer, it's going to do more. I don't know. I kind of liked the idea that Thoth sort of sets up and hits you from massive range. I feel like this takes away a bit from his identity. Not a big fan of these changes, to be honest. Buffing Ymir? I think Ymir's good, honestly. It didn't really do much for his metrics. I feel like people just need time to get used to that Ymir wall change. It should be really good in theory. So they increase the duration of his passive and increase the damage. Oh, that's pretty big. Because like the damage that you actually do, like the increased damage with Ymir passive isn't a big deal, but the damage reduction from Frostbite is actually pretty huge and honestly overlooked. 15% damage reduction. Like this is 15%. The enemies hit by Frostbite do 15% less damage for 6 seconds, which is pretty big. Like anyone hit by Ymir's abilities, you can hit multiple people with that. If you hit both their carries, doing 15% reduced damage for 6 seconds, that's huge. I expect to see a lot more Ymir, honestly. But yeah, that's all the god balance changes. Once again, kind of a mixed bag, but for the most part, they're pretty good. Like I said, these set changes are super intelligent, and I really like them. The Neith changes, also really intelligent. I like those a lot. The Mulan changes, I flipped on that because I didn't read it correctly. These changes are actually pretty good. I like them. Medusa changes are stupid. She has other problems. And that's kind of it, really. The rest are all just pretty decent changes. And the rat rework is mixed, honestly. Better than he was before, but could still be improved, I would say. Some of the acorns are kind of boring, but this evergreen acorn's super fun. I'm really looking forward to this. But yeah, let me know your highlight of the gods changes down below, and keep your eye out for more news videos coming soon. Peace.